when Dave Kramer and I were doing the weeding and so forth up there, the soil tested to see why some things were happening.
And it was suggested because from Main Street, Iowa, we had Amy Lushek. She was kind of like an expert, and she recommended doing that first before doing them.
So that the soil content may influence your choice of plants, so. And how would we pay for this? We have,
We have some funds that are discretionary and lost. I probably pull it up.
The check that we write to BPCDC every year is a pretty sizable amount. Could that be used to cover this cost? I mean, could those funds be used to help with that 460?
Yes, they have funds.
So, I mean, I guess we were kind of looking at it as cost of, it was just an option for us to come to the city.
Them?
Based on whatever council approved at budget time.
Mhm.
I mean, I think one thing is the city owns, you know, BPCDC is wanting to maintain them and have them represent. So,
I understand that. I'm just curious what we use those. We write a check every year, so what do those funds go towards?
Operating expenses, community development, various
Yeah.
And
areas.
Okay.
events that are
Expenses,
yeah.
happening.
Yeah, and Main Street Iowa membership.
So we normally pay for maintenance on Main Street, and that goes to Public Works or, well, so if we had to if we had to do anything with the biocels or do anything with Main Street, what funds does that normally come out of?
Most generally we use economic development. I haven't had any like really big expenses, but that's even where we budgeted that money out of this year.
will we be getting some type of financial report on BPCDC so we can kind
Should
of,
be, Heather's keeping excellent records
yeah.
for us, so, yeah.
Well, I mean, this is important for us to think about because, you know, if we approve this and then it comes back that now all of a sudden the biocels need treatment, I mean, this is the first of money we're gonna have to spend if we want biocels to be viable. So we gotta plan ahead for that and think, okay, where else is the money gonna come from? Because we could easily spend $3,000 or $4,000 if we have to put a bunch of soil in there, or we have to put manure or whatever, you know, we have to put in there. So I'm not against doing it because I think we have the biocels. We've got to get them to where they're viable, but how are we going to pay for that down the road?
You know,
Mayor needs to mute his phone.
Mayor, can you mute your phone, please? We're getting echo. What? We're getting an echo from you being on the phone. You need to mute your phone.
Because I'm snoring.
We might have a connection problem in a minute.
I got you live on TV now.
All right.
That's probably.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, you got to turn down the volume if you can.
There are biocells.
You're out of order. Technology's great, isn't it? Well, I agree that we need to pay for this, but let's think down the road here. If we're gonna have other expenses, we need to know how we're gonna fund this. But I think,
Well, I think the other thing, Mitch, you have to remember, the biocells were part of this green stormwater system that they created, and there was absolutely nothing budgeted or thought about in the architect's workings to put that thing. And so we've been living on, thank God for the Donovan Fund, buying plants, and for volunteers taking plants out of their own gardens. So now all of a sudden you have all this where Belle Plaine Development said they'd take it over for us. Well, it's more than just weeding if you're gonna make it survivable. So somewhere in our budget, we're gonna have to add something for the gardening costs, because it's not coming out of Parks and Rec, because they're not parks.
And then also, there is a grant that I can apply for, so that could help, if we would get it, it could help towards the cost of,
okay, that's good.
Future stuff.
future stuff.
That's good.
There's a couple tourism grants. Mitch sent me one too. Maybe you and I could collaborate on that. That might be able to fund some of this.
Did you hear that, Dave?
Yeah,
Okay.
and my only answer to it is apply for it, don't just talk about it.
Boy, he gets out of the room, he's just. All right. You okay with that?
Oh, yeah, no,
Okay.
just questions I
Right.
was curious
No, it's
about.
a good question.
That's
We
what I
need to have
thought.
the conversation about it. You want a motion?
I want a motion if you want to move forward with this.
I make a motion to approve the city paying for the soil tests for the biocells on Main Street.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thanks, Ashley.
Passes 5-0. Agenda item number 7, discuss for possible approval of purchase of a pre-owned 2015 Ram 5500 Tradesman 4-wheel drive for $50,997 for Public Works.
Jay's probably sweating. He's going, God, they argued about $4.60.
So I came in a couple days ago and got a look at the agenda, and this kind of popped up, and I said, geez, where did this come from? So Steve and Jay and Sandy kind of told me the story, and so Jay's ready to give us the scoop on this truck.
So this truck originated from Power Chief Water, and it just happened to show up at Tice, and I seen it there, so I got Steve and we went down and looked at it, and it's a little bigger than what you guys normally purchase, but for me, I think it'd be great because we could get all of our tools in the truck, and it would always be on site with us. It's got the rack on it. It just made sense to me, but
Heavy duty enough to
to tow our excavator, and
And that was an issue that we were looking at, right?
yeah, well, we were gonna have to
Yeah.
use a dump truck or something,
Right.
but it just kind of appeared, and I thought it'd be a good idea to.
And there's room in the back for mulch for the biocells.
But yeah. So
And budget wise, how are we?
So obviously a required budget amendment because we haven't budgeted for it, but funds are available. We could probably take about 10,000 out of roads, about 15 out of water, and the balance would come out of the Public Works equipment accrual. The equipment accrual could handle the entire purchase. There is that amount of money in there, but it would all but wipe it out. So we thought.
Is
maybe
this
if we-
replacing something that you guys?
that was the other thing, I'd like to, that 1998, I would like to get rid of that. It's got 160 some thousand on it, and it's needing some pretty good repair, but the plan eventually is hopefully we can work a deal with the police officers, hopefully get the Tahoe, take that to the water, and then bring that 3/4 ton up to the shop, and then I'll get rid of one more after that too. And then we'll be down to 2 trucks there and 2 trucks down below, and
But this is big enough. I mean, this really fits like everything that you guys are gonna need.
oh yeah, I mean,
This just dropped out of the sky, like, kind of like miraculously,
Yeah.
because Poweshiek Water takes immaculate condition, care of their stuff. We actually got to go look at it before they even ran it through the shop. So it was kind of warts and all. It hadn't been washed, it hadn't been detailed. It had like 2 things underneath that we thought were concerns that they said they'd take care of. It was, I mean, it was really clean. It hardly has any rust on the chassis or anything. I mean, it looks like a,
Well, this is probably, like you said, as far as a used purchase from previous owner, that's kind of a no-brainer.
we couldn't find a better previous
Couldn't
owner.
find a better taken care of truck. It's got a fiberglass body on it, so that'll never rust, you know, so as far as the back utility bed of it.
Did you guys get to talk with Poweshiek Water about
No, I did not call them.
curious?
Right now, Jay's using his own personal vehicle because we don't have anything like this. And he's been using that since he got started, almost 1.5 years ago. And
and I don't have no problem with that. So.
I just wanted to,
Right.
I appreciate your contribution.
Well, we talked about this before too, you know, I think personally, I think it's a good purchase. We're gonna have to have something to pull our equipment around with.
That, not to get off track here, but we'll be getting a trailer too, which was budgeted. So we'll have that. And then we were able to get a line painter too. So when you see squiggly lines, you know, practice.
We're gonna be painting all our own lines.
So
What were we paying like annually to have that?
5,000 or 6,000 plus.
Okay. How much did the machine cost?
it would be 6,300, I believe, is what we ended up on that.
It's like a year's worth,
Yeah,
like payback in a year.
And we can do it at our discretion instead of doing the whole town at once. We can break it up a little better.
I mean, new is just like 80 or 90,000.
That truck,
The truck,
the chassis would be.
Yeah, right. And then all the other stuff.
I'm gonna say 95,000.
Yeah. That's why I'm thinking for a used vehicle, it's pretty
So
decent.
it's kind of hard to do comparables on that because
All the
not
stuff
everybody
that's
has one on their lot.
I don't disagree, we need a truck. Going to a crew cab, are we just going to a crew cab out of convenience, or do we have a need for a crew cab?
The crew cab, well, for one, it's there, but if you see like the front seat of my truck, it'd be nice because I carry my legs there up front because I don't want it wet. And then the locator we carry up in the front seat, it'd be nice to throw that in the back and then
So it's beneficial to have the
crew.
crew cab a part of it.
and especially in cold weather when you need your tools warm.
Right.
Otherwise, they're coming out of the back of your truck, whatever the ambient
Yeah.
temperature is.
Well, the biggest thing is somebody can ride with you basically, you know, that
Mhm.
freeing up. But,
Instead of having your front seat full of equipment.
right.
Okay.
But we could do it either or. It's just, it shows.
Better with,
Four,
yeah.
but
And you said we're gonna Pentel style hit or trailer, or,
the
Hitch.
one we got's got a 2 5/16, but we're gonna go to Pentel.
okay,
Yeah, we'll have to change the hookup there. But
okay.
Yep.
Well, if you think it's a good purchase and it fell into our lap and the crew cab is the way to go, I don't think we should balk at it.
The reason the miles are so low is during COVID, when things were hard to get, they were ordering, just trying to keep ahead, and so pretty low miles for what they do, but
Well, they don't run their trucks into the ground, I don't think either.
That's the one I was saying.
They keep them rotated,
Yeah.
keep fresh trucks on hand,
Mhm.
so.
Any comments from the mayor?
I wholeheartedly endorse buying a pickup. I've asked for a year and a half what we could do to help Jay not have to drive his to work every day and drive it on the job, and this hits it perfect, so especially when we can budget it out of funds that are already there. This is, I think, a no-brainer. We buy it, and put it to work.
Anything else? If not, I need a motion.
I'll move to approve the purchase of the 2015 Ram for $59,87. Is that what it said?
50,997.
Now you gotta go down and work with them again. You gotta get 10 off, guys.
Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
It's
Thanks,
been
Jay.
moved and seconded to purchase the pickup. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Did you respond?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, agenda item number 8, discuss for possible approval, proposed selection of engineer based on qualifications for engineering services received. So we all got a packet of submissions from the engineering firms that had responded, and Sandy and Steve put together a comparison chart. I guess I'd turn this over to Steve.
Sure. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Well, since I took my job, we've had a lot of engineering firms approach me, make appointments, show up randomly, whatever. Anytime anybody stopped in and talked to me, they wanted to know kind of what our ideas are, what our vision is. And so I met with anybody kind of where they're at and tried to give everybody, the same thing. Took them to, all the different areas around town, like the Norgard addition or the well field or the wastewater plant or any other potential development sites. Just kind of did the broad tour, and there were probably a dozen, if I had to guess, maybe a little bit more. But after we put out the RFQ, we ended up having 5 respond back. And you can see those factors considered in the selection process on two pages. So the first page, the qualifications of the firm. Everybody had pretty comparable qualifications as far as the longevity of their firm. So that wasn't entirely a deciding factor. The personnel assigned, the amount of experience they had was pretty comparable. And then the ability to meet full range of needs. There's kind of a lot there to talk about. Did anybody have any questions about any of the ability to meet full range of needs? It was kind of it was a little general, but we tried to extrapolate as much as we could out of the RFQ or the SOQs to fill that out. Everybody that responded I would say they were all pretty equidistant in proximity to Belle Plaine. The previous experience with Belle Plaine, that goes through kind of how the process went with our communications. So the result of the interview, we didn't particularly interview each firm after we sent out the RFQ because we already had talked with them, or I had spoken with them previously at least a couple times. And it's a lot of people are on vacation this time of year, so it's just kind of hard to coordinate getting people out here and everything else. Under additional considerations, this was kind of where we started having things standing out more. One of the things that I thought was really important to the selection was how well they work with our well company, who we've worked with for decades. And I found out that they had all worked with our well company at one point or another, some more frequently than others. So that was all pretty good information. The part where people really stood out was when we talked about our ideas and, went around town and the creativity that was met, or the curiosity about our projects, and then follow up. And that was kind of where it stood out for me. And one firm had asked me a couple times to meet with the crew just to kind of see how all that would play as far as communications. And because previously the Public Works Department staff never really got a say in a lot of that stuff. And I just thought, because I came out of Public Works, I thought that it would be nice if those guys had an opportunity to weigh in on it, or at least have a seat at the table when they're looking over the application, the statement of qualifications. So we have a long-standing relationship with Anderson Bogert, and we have a highway project with them going right now. One of the things that kind of stood out to me about them is we have worked on a lot of projects with them. Their primary focus is transportation, and they acknowledge that on their website. And I think they'll tell you that's one of their specialties is roadways and things like that. And when we met with, I met with Fear Graham, they had, I felt, and I think the Public Works Department would agree, they had broader base of knowledge when it comes to, like, we have some really sensitive projects in sensitive areas with a lot of constraints. For instance, the Well 6 project with trying to develop a treatment plant facility that's going to have to be in town, like in the city limits. There are a lot of things that factor into that. Normally, you know, our well field is obviously outside of town, our wastewater treatment plant's outside of town. You have some separation stuff, you have things like that. This will be our first water treatment facility, and it has to be in town. And I feel that, and after we talked with, I talked with Public Works, the recommendation is to hire Fear Graham as the Public Works engineer. They have worked with Vinton for 10 years, and they have a really good relationship with the DNR field office in Manchester, and they're the city engineer in Manchester. And I really like the level of energy and curiosity and creativity that they bring to the table, and their willingness to, you know, take the initiative to want to meet with the guys and talk with, you know, because we might be faced with something where we have a problem and one of our public works people needs to call the engineer and, you know, get some quick answers or something like that. And I want them to be able to have a working relationship and common language and goals and plain spoken with our staff so they could understand and jump on things quickly in an emergency situation. Obviously, most of our projects hopefully aren't going to be emergencies. They're going to be meticulously planned out, but that was just one of the things that was important to the public works staff.
So questions from the council?
Is it common for a lot of the engineers that, I mean, I noticed under Fear Graham, they deal with funding solutions. Obviously, that's gonna be a big part of what we're gonna be looking right in the face here real soon is paying for all this.
Yeah, I would say that all of the firms would have a component of that. That was one of the things that they called out. So I kind of liked that.
Yeah.
Because that is definitely going to be a big challenge for us.
Right. And what we're looking at, what you said, like a 3-year contract, is that what your thought process was on this? Or was there a time frame on that?
I just wanted to entertain the idea and see what you all thought about the way we went about it and our recommendations. And then if whoever is selected, then we can work with them to kind of figure out what that partnership's going to look like.
Okay.
And because we obviously have like, I'm just going to give some examples. I don't want to get off task, but so all of our bridges, we kind of go with who specializes with a lot of things. So all of our bridges are inspected by Calhoun Burns and Associates, and they always have. And after the derecho, they do even more so that we have better records of our bridges. They'll probably, I can't make any promises. I would assume they're going to be our bridge engineer for a long time. Veenstra and Kim worked with us on every one of our FEMA projects, and we're going to have a relationship with them going forward. Anderson Bogert, we are partnered with them on our Highway 21 project, rehabilitation, and the Hawk system, which we've actually been talking about as recently as today. The airport uses Bolton and Mink as their consulting engineer. I'm just giving examples of, we try to have a little bit of autonomy in the areas of expertise, and that's why I thought it was important that Public Works had a say in this.
So is it fair to say that the answer to that is to be determined?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I think we'd probably start out with we have some projects that we've gotten approval on grants for in a roundabout way. We don't have like official letters, but we have in the works a grant for $250,000 that should be dropping here pretty soon for the wetland. We're almost certain we're getting that. We got a grant for the Wellfield generator project. That is for sure. We're going to get that. And then I found out this week that we got the fire department generator grant. So each one of those has its own procurement policies and the ways we have to do things. So when we talk about a contract, each project may have to have its own contract just because of the way. So the Wellfield generator is going to be from federal funding through Homeland Security. The wetland is going to be federal money through the DNR for nutrient reduction strategy program for the Mississippi River. That's where that money came from. And then Iowa Economic Development Authority is where the derecho disaster recovery funds. So that's coming from the state. But I believe that also had a federal pathway, how they got that money. So they each are going to have their own set of rules. When I talked to Jennifer Fensel today, she's like, you're really going to need to work closely with me on all these things that she's going to be involved with because of the meticulous rules that we have to follow for the.
Any other questions from the council? I mean, from my perspective, each one of these firms, you know, when I got the initial packets, brought unique things to the table and so forth. I don't think I have the capability of making the decision on my own without a recommendation. And I would look to Steve as the city administrator to make that recommendation.
I mean, the main task for this group really is going to be water treatment. Is that correct?
It's going to be everything to do with the wells, water treatment, water mains, that kind of stuff. Sorry. Yeah, well, the council kind of made it clear to me and everybody else that our number one priority for public works projects, big projects, is going to be treatment plant for well 6.
Right. I think
number one.
We have to keep that.
And, you know,
number
we're
one.
getting grant money for wellfield stuff and wetlands, you know, that's just that's just another thing we're doing. But the main thrust is the treatment of well 6.
I just didn't want this to get too spread out.
No, we're not going to have scope creep. We're going to, project 1, priority 1 is well 6 treatment.
Has Fairgram done anything like that? I mean, did they give you examples of other treatment plants that they've built or actually worked on? I mean, you say that they've worked with Vinton in the last 10 years. They've done restoration. So have they developed what we're looking for?
I believe so. One of the things that is one of the reasons I really need to have an engineer that specializes in these types of things is because I don't know what type of treatment we need entirely. I know what we don't want to end up with is something that's going to cost us a fortune and that we're not going to be able to afford, and it's going to raise the water bill sky high. And, you know, we want to have something that's sustainable and that works and gives us the best quality water that we're going to be able to afford to treat. And I think that they're going to be able to get us there. But as far as if I say, I know that they did this exact same treatment plant because the water in two different towns are completely different and will take different size plants.
I know,
and
but
sizing.
something similar like that. I mean, have any of these 5 built a treatment plant?
I believe they all have experience
Okay,
with that.
I'm just
I don't
curious.
have
It
that
just-
all in
to me,
front
that
of me at
would
the
be
moment.
like, you know, as
I
far
can't
as
name
ability to
towns
meet-
off the top of my head.
Okay.
Are you with,
I'm with Fairground.
okay.
And Todd is with Anderson Bogert.
Right.
I'm
And,
also with Anderson Builders.
okay. Can you give some examples?
Yeah, actually, up in Manchester, we installed a nitrate removal system there. That was a brand new building in a residential neighborhood, so I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, but you know, iron removal, hardness, radon. We've gotten into a large variety of different types of treatment systems. So, good experience. I've got a stable of engineers that I can tap into that are better experts than I am. So, you've got the whole Fairground resource at your fingertips, basically just going through me.
How long ago would that have been built, the one in Manchester?
I believe it was about 2015.
Okay,
Actually, no, I take that back. 2010. That was just one of multiple nitrate reduction systems that we designed and had helped with the construction engineering in Manchester alone while I was city engineer there.
One of the challenges that we have is Nick is more on top of this than I am because it's his role, but the EPA has mandated that we do some additional testing on top of the other testing that we already do for our state licensure and permitting. And that is, he's going to be pulling those pretty soon. In the past, I've always tried to find testing that tried to hit constituents, things that I wanted to see if we had in our water, just to make sure, you know, like with well 6, we tested that for a lot of things that are above and beyond what the state requires, just so we would know. So with this new testing that Nick will be doing, we'll find out, you know, more about what's in the water, if there's anything that we haven't tested for, and what other things we might need to remove. Because the well field has completely different water than well 6.
Yeah.
Still water, but it has a lot of different stuff in it. So for well 6, we'll have to have softening, iron and manganese removal. We'll have to have potentially some fluoride removal or blending to reduce that down to below 1 milligram per liter. And I don't think we're going to need to have any reverse osmosis on well 6, but if we do, we'll do all of the other filtration first, so we're not just running everything through an RO, which would really plug up the filters quickly and have a high cost of operation. But that, again, would be under the advisement of our engineer.
other questions from the council? Anything from the mayor?
Yeah, Steve's brought out some good points on what Fear Graham can actually do for us, but there's some other things that I think I will take up personally out of the mayor's office as soon as I get back from the men. I would be satisfied with either Anderson Bogert or Fear Graham, either one. And I would wholeheartedly say don't give anybody more than a 3-year contract, because I fully feel that's what's wrong in education is you give your superintendents a 3-year rollover contract and they can spend 3 years making a mockery out of your school district before you can get rid of them. So give somebody a 3-year contract on this and let's see what they do with the water system. And if we're pretty satisfied. Remember, where our last trip down the golden path of water with the sewage plant was. We thought we were going to be happy with what we had created with WRH, and that's after we first rejected the bids that came in to save transportation costs on dirt. So my mind's been changed a little bit tonight, but not wholeheartedly. But council, you've got the vote, so go ahead and make the decision.
I agree with you, Mary, I think Steve should give us, what he thinks is best for us, and we can kind of go from there. He's worked with them a lot more than we have.
They all look excellent on paper, but the people who are working with them are the ones who should have the greatest say, I think.
Looking for a motion.
I move to approve Fairground as the city engineer for a 3-year contract.
For
what?
Public
Well,
works.
do we want to set a time frame? Are you prepared to do that yet, or? Because you were hesitant when I brought it up before. As far as
About the
time
contract? You all can decide on, we don't have a contract even
Right.
in place right now. So, I mean, I was hoping just to get somebody determined tonight
Yeah, I think, I don't think we need to assign somebody.
because we'll have to have, our attorneys go over it and, we might do a number of different things, like a not to exceed, like we've done with some of the other things. So it's just kind of time and material
Maybe
type of
what you're
stuff.
suggesting isn't that far reaching.
I just don't have any of that prepared because I
Right.
didn't want to ask everybody for contracts.
So the motion is for, can you repeat it?
What I wrote down was, fairground for public works engineer not to exceed 3 years.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to hire Fairground as the engineer for public works for a time period not to exceed 3 years. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Agenda item number, got version here. That's okay. Yeah, it is. Okay. Discuss for possible approval subaward agreement number HMGP DR 4642 IA 0008. Scope of work and pre-award risk assessment for the city of Belle Plaine wellfield generator project of $100,923. Federal share of 90% and state share of 10%, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement for the city of Belle Plaine. So this came in, I think we had the agenda all worked up and
It was, I got excited because we got it. I wanted to include it.
well, and we've been waiting to hear on this, so we added it and
Thank you for adding it.
reissued.
And then gave Jennifer some time to look it over. There were a couple of notes she had in one of them. I don't have that in front of me at the moment, but thanks.
It's on the back of the revised agenda,
Okay.
and Jennifer just gave us some quick notes and Sandy typed them up, but
So one, and I'm not taking any of these lightly, and I'm taking Jennifer's point on this. It says that if we discover any archaeological artifacts, there's just like things that we have to go through. Where we're proposing to install this generator is right next to well house 1, which is the closest well to the corner of E66 and Highway 21. And it was previously, if you look at the rest of the area where the solar panels are, it's down. And previously they had built that up into a nice solid foundation for that. I don't feel like we're going to have any archaeological artifacts because we built that up, whenever they built that in the 50s. So it's all fill dirt and rock. The other one is the 500-year out in the grant application that we were going to be a certain amount above that. So those are kind of the big ones I wanted to hit. And then, Homeland Security will help with almost all of this. They've been very helpful. And the guy who helped us get this grant was one of the gentlemen that testified for us in that federal hearing, arbitration, or the we were in with FEMA, and Homeland Security has really come to bat for Belle Plaine, and big thanks to them for helping us get this, because we've been working on this for a couple of years, and the rules changed and the prices changed on like vicious cycle.
Right.
And I think Jennifer just kind of indicated that, this is coming down from a system and there's no negotiating here. She was just pointing out.
Yeah, right.
The relevant parts of the contract that we will have to make sure we comply with.
Absolutely. And the last time I had this quoted out, fingers crossed, they, said that it was going to be the same, but, the prices of things fluctuate so much. I just hoping that everything can be covered. I mean, if we have to have a little bit of local match, it's not the end of the world, but we're going to strive to be at or under budget for what we were allotted. But I had to have this requoted. I don't know how many times. It was a lot.
Get that truck fast.
So our mission tonight is to approve the sub-award agreement.
Yes, if you would like to proceed with this.
Any questions?
Have if they'll want it kept as a project.
Sure.
We pretty much do that with every.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that we get grant money for.
Seems like standard record keeping. Any other questions? Need a motion? Unless you don't want $700,000 plus change.
All motion for approval, sub-award agreement
Yeah,
for, yes, for the Wellfield generator project. I am not going
That's a
there.
mouthful.
And having the name.
And have the mayor sign the agreement for the city of Belle Plaine.
Perfect.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to move forward with the sub-award agreement for the Wellfield project and have the mayor sign for the city of Belle Plaine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Hey, Mary,
Yeah,
I just like to endorse Steve's work on this project, because you guys go back to when the derecho was, and this has been a bear on trying to get this done. And when it comes to all that, looking for Native American artifacts from Montana asking for direct information from them if they had ever camped on that area of Iowa. So if we were digging into a burial ground, so that's just all standard for dealing with federal money. That you can't dig up a burial ground, whether it's a Native American or whether it's settlers across America, without running into big trouble. So that's just pretty normal. So I endorse what Steve got done there. That's a super job. That's it.
Okay. Agenda item number 10, city treasurer's report, and this is for June, city budget report for June, and the solar report. So I guess probably Sandy is best equipped to kind of walk us through since we're right at the end of the fiscal year here.
Yeah, so what you'll see is I actually gave you the treasurer's report in two formats. When we hit the end of the fiscal year, we have to convert everything back to cash. We don't have to do that at the end of every month, just at the end of every year. So I gave it to you prior to those cash conversion entries. That's really where we're at. But after the cash conversion entries is what the auditors are going to look at. That's how they're gonna consider where we were at. When we hit July 1st, our starting point goes back to prior to cash conversion entries, because they're all reversing entries that are on the books for one whole day. Either way, you're gonna notice our general fund went negative, caught me a little bit by surprise. I knew we were gonna be tight. I just didn't think we would quite roll negative, but we did. So we'll have two funds that the auditors will ding us on, that one as well as we already knew about the garbage fund. I'm not uber concerned about general fund. It is going to take a couple of months to work us back out of the hole because nobody pays their taxes in July. So probably until we get that big influx again, along about September, October, we're probably gonna be walking a fine line there. And under the impression we should get our first franchise check sometime in July. I haven't heard from them as of yet, so I'm not sure. My understanding was it's quarterly, so April, May, June should pay in July, and we started in June, so I would think we'd get 1 month's worth in July. If it follows the pattern that they told us at the beginning.
Is that how quickly they said we'd receive funds the following month?
Yep, so April, May, June would be July, August, September would be in October, November, December would be in January, so.
Probably close to the end of the month.
That would be my guess. They'll hang on to it as long as it. Otherwise, nothing else alarming in the treasurer's report. Income in total was a little we had projected for the year. Sometimes it's just our best guess.
Yeah.
And
It's always our best guess.
I mean, some things we can kind of,
Forecast
put
a little
finger
easier.
on a little more, but, I think we thought building permits were gonna be a lot higher than they were. Taxes were right where we expected them to be, so that wasn't it. But licenses and permits look like they're
Annual.
charges for services were just about what we expected.
have news about when the audit's gonna be happening, right?
Auditors will
Tomorrow.
be here tomorrow and Friday. So and the solar report I handed out right before the meeting. We didn't actually get Alliance bill until this morning. I couldn't finish that report until today. The only notable thing on that is you're gonna see it looks like the city shop was bad. It's not, it's timing, because you pay for what you generate to KMDE, and we generated way more than we used at the shop again this month. It's a good problem to have, because it will come back to help us eventually. Because it just banks it. It's kind of like, you know, it just sits there until we need it.
In-store credit, kind of.
Yeah.
Good way to explain it. It's like in-store credit. So it sits there until some point where they can't generate, you know, cloudy month, stormy month. Maybe it starts getting to the point where we have to use more power. Then you still get to pay a minimum bill, because it just kind of draws from all that it's been saving up. So we actually have 4 of the 5 areas that we have solar panels at. 4 of the 5 areas actually just got a minimum bill from Alliance this month. So it's nothing like paying a $20 electric bill.
That's really great.
So it's been a good thing, and the well field was really good this month, so that's awesome.
Thanks to getting out from under Alliance thumb on that
Yes,
finally.
yes, yes.
Yeah, gosh. They thought we needed to be on it eventually, so they just decided to do it whenever they did it.
Sure.
Just a matter of time.
Sooner or later, you guys are gonna have to be.
Sneaked it in somewhere, but couldn't prove it. Couldn't prove where and when and how. Any other questions on any of these reports from the council?
Thanks, Sandy.
Oh, and just kind of a side note, in terms of hail damage. We finally got our scope of loss back from EMC just today, and our scope is a little over $350,000 in damage on city properties due to the hail. So we will start working through projects there. Just when we were almost done.
Yeah,
With
right?
the ratio.
With the dredge.
God.
One to the other. Agenda item number 11, city administrator's report.
All right. Some of this is going to speak to things that are on the agenda a little further down, but I had kind of had this written down before some of this stuff was going to be discussed, or I knew that it was going to be discussed. The well field has been holding steady. It is now depleting. The recent rains didn't make a huge impact on the level of the aquifer, unfortunately. So we are going to be recommending that we go under restrictions. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Well 6 is pretty much ready to go. Jay's finishing up prepping that so that if we need to run that in 2 weeks, it'll be ready to go. So we're doing the restrictions with the understanding that we may need to, if things don't improve quickly, we may need to just put in well 6 so we don't lose any ground and just manage our water and not completely deplete the well field. The mayor asked for 2 weeks, so I talked with Nick, I talked with Jay, and we just don't want to cut it any closer. So that's what I'm going to recommend. Hopefully the restrictions will help out. We did find that there were some businesses that were hauling out major amounts of water today, and that tower was having a little trouble keeping up with the Highway 30 project. They were hauling out 3 tanker trucks a time with 12,000 gallons a crack. And they were getting it from the Manats plant, and co-ops using a lot of, there's just a lot of businesses using a lot. So we just called around and just said, hey, we really need to know when you guys are going to just go from using the regular amount to tens of thousands of gallons a day. So just a reminder to them, but they ended up getting it rebounded right away once we established what was going on. But anytime you see the tower start, it wasn't low, it was just an alarm went off. That usually means you've got a water main break someplace, but they found out right away what was going on, thankfully. Well, number 3 is having some motor work done, and it should be completed next week. We have a temporary submersible motor and pump in there, and we can run that thing on hand. I don't know that we can run it automatically at this point, but I talked to Tom today with Northway, and he said that he was going to prioritize hopefully getting that back online with our motor and pump next week. I already went over the generator grant. I just want to reiterate thanks to Jennifer Fentzel with ECOG for helping us get that generator for the fire department. She's been really helpful with that. The Watershed Management Authority documents that we approved a couple council meetings ago, all that was compiled and submitted to the Secretary of State. And so we are now going to be part of a comprehensive watershed management authority, which will open us up for more funding sources. I'm really excited about that. I am going to be meeting with them in August to go over what our next steps are. Sandy already talked about the scope of loss from EMC. I've had one business owner and one business manager talk about the franchise fees and having questions about those, and why we were kind of faced with making that decision. So I wasn't able to answer all of the questions right up front. So I had some follow-up work, and I've had a couple discussions with Jim Pierce. I'm looking forward to talking with him again. And then Remington, I met with them once, and they had some follow-up questions on how our taxes work and what the rates were and those types of things. So I'm going to be getting back with them soon on that. I just want to thank Sandy for all her help with getting these grants. You just work on them and you work on them and you work on them, and then we just finally like bam, 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 and it's a little overwhelming. You just think you're just gonna have to work on it for the rest of your life. It just takes forever. But everybody that helped with guiding me and helping me with that, we've been really fortunate with the grants we've been able to get, and gives us some more. These generators are going to give us a lot more independence from being a natural disasters hit. I've never had a problem finding generators, but it's pretty stressful to try to find them when something happens. Yeah, you got to be about 3 or 4 hours ahead of everybody else.
Plus, you're down for 48 hours.
Yeah, well, after the derecho, Jay hauled the generator out there, and we didn't end up getting it hooked up until about midnight, was it? After the derecho. Yep. So,
long to make a pass so you can get there.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, so thanks, Sandy. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
I don't have a question. I'd like to make a comment though about the water restrictions. just so the public knows, it's not something that Belle Plaine only deals with. I don't know if anybody else read, but Power Chic Water is under water restriction. So even if we were with them, we wouldn't be ahead.
Right.
Exactly.
That's a good point. Yeah, 'cause
And that's been a few weeks.
Yeah.
We've been on
Right.
water restrictions.
In the,
Yeah. So
their wells are coming straight off of the Iowa River, south of Tama.
Yeah, so I
And,
mean,
yeah,
just
it's-
something that, we should think about too is, Power Chic Water is probably not the answer. And we're not the only one faced with challenges.
For one more reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, maybe someday we can sell them water.
Hey, there you go.
So,
Thanks for, that's a good point.
yeah, because citizens always, Belle Plaine water, well,
Yeah.
it's not just us.
No.
Agenda
Oh.
item number 12.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I just wanted to introduce Nate Cass with Fear Graham.
Hi.
He decided to stay.
Yeah, thank
Come on
you.
up.
Yep.
You want to,
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I can stick around after the meeting so I don't hold anybody up, and we can do a little meet and greet or whatever you want to do. If you want to shoot me out the door, my wife will appreciate me getting home tonight too. But I'm happy to just get to know all of you, and however that takes. Working with staff, and that was one of the things. As Steve pointed out. We work very, very closely with the water and street superintendents in the communities that we do work with regularly, and that is very intentional because they are the boots on the ground. They know your system better than anybody else. So to be able to trade those relationships and go, right to the horse's mouth makes a huge difference on how smooth projects go, and how good they are. Because then we have confidence that not only is it the right system, but you guys can operate it, your staff can operate it, you can maintain it, and it's what you need to make your town work. So that's our goal. I can put in the best treatment plant in the United States, but if it's not the right one for you guys, it's not the right one. So I didn't do my job. So that the staff, you mentioned Northway, Tom and I go way back. I've been working with him, and then suddenly I was coaching his daughter on my softball team. So yeah, we go way back with Northway too. So I know that was a big deal, and that was purely coincidental. I don't think anybody knew that until someone's like, "Well, yeah, Northway. Well, yeah, I know Tom." So I'm very confident that we're going to be able to take care of everything you guys need. If there's a chance that Fairgraham can't do it, we have partners all over to make sure that we get things done, make sure that they're right. Wide variety of projects, and I'll just stop talking because I can go on for hours. Just one final point is one of the things that I've learned that I must do a little bit better than some other engineers is explain things in a way that you guys can understand. So if there's anything that you guys, whether it's wastewater treatment, water treatment, streets, anything like that, if you don't fully understand it and you're not comfortable, please just continue to grill me. We'll communicate. We'll figure out what it's going to take to help you guys understand so that you're making the right decisions for your town. So we'll just do that. We'll take it down to a third grade level if we need to. I don't want to talk it down to you, but at the same time, sometimes that's the simplest thing.
Are you saying something?
So again, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to working with all of you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
thank you. Sorry to interrupt there, Mary.
That's okay. So agenda item number 12 is the mayor and mayor pro tem's report, current meeting report. I don't have anything that looks backwards. So Dave, do you?
Other than the landfill meeting's gotta be covered tomorrow night, and that's, set up by resolution.
Yeah, looking forward, I'm gonna go to that. But I didn't
It'll be a
have,
30-minute meeting, Mary, it'll be short.
yeah, I've heard that before.
Stop at the Antler. and go see
It's
Jim.
good, yeah. The antler's there, that's good. So, anyway, I have nothing other than I'm going to landfill tomorrow.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Agenda item number 13, correspondence, non-old business. The old resolutions are attached, so we can go through those. Landfill attendance, we're just reminded of what's the order of priority for people attending that meeting. Mayor Pro Tem, City Administrator, and then after that, other city council members in order of seniority.
New garbage company working okay? Any complaints? Difficulty picking up?
No, it's
Nice smooth operation. Huh?
been really pleasant.
Yeah.
Yep,
Great.
it's gone really well. Jay, I mean, actually probably the biggest hiccups we've had were people that never put the old ones out. So the first time the new company picked up, they were like, so there are blue bins at this address and there are some blue bins at this address, and we dumped them, but they're not our bins, so. So we had to call some of those residents, and Jay's folks went and picked them up, took them back down to the shop, made sure they had black ones, but.
Yeah, if they
no.
keep them in their garage or something, you know, they wouldn't have, the people wouldn't have picked them up.
It is, you know, a little bit of growing pains, and the fact that we got a panic call today. They didn't pick up anybody on my street.
Because it's
Garbage
Wednesday.
comes tomorrow.
No
So-
recycling.
Luckily,
Yeah.
the flyer that they put out on everything, I put that on my fridge because I looked at, I always look at my neighbors. I go, okay, no one else has got them out.
So, you know, which is understandable, you know, people have been doing it on
Yeah.
Mondays for a long time.
Habits
Wednesdays
take
for
a while
long
to
time,
get
so-
developed.
But no, I can't say that we've had a lot of complaints. We will be sending some notices out, although we haven't had complaints from the public. The carrier did mention that their first week of recycling pickup, from their standpoint, did not go that well, simply because there was a lot of garbage in the recycling. Glass, clothing, rugs, lawn clippings, styrofoam, stuff that was never acceptable before, so I'm not sure why
now?
they seem to think it was now. We're hoping maybe it was because there was kind of a big gap in between garbage pickup from the old company and the new company. Maybe people just didn't know what to do with it, and therefore, we'll just do this with it. But we are gonna send a notice out. Wanted to wait till after we got garbage tomorrow, so as not to confuse people. But we're gonna send out, text messages and put it on Facebook again and say, hey, these things are not recyclable. Please don't put them in your recycle bin.
Will the city continue to send out the weekly reminder notices?
She's gonna do it for a while until
But
we.
not permanently.
It will not be a permanent thing. We thought, 2-3 months should be sufficient for people to have created a new routine, new habit. But yeah, she wanted to do it for a little while just because we know.
Sure, yeah.
I really like that it's the whole town in one day.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I just, because it's just, not only that, it makes the town look cleaner in a sense,
Right.
So you don't have multiple days where there's trash cans sitting out. I like it in one day.
I know there were some comments about the fact that they laid the garbage cans down that first week that they picked up was solely for their own purposes. They're trying to learn something new too, and they wanted some visuals so they could make sure they had hit all the streets. We had gotten feedback from a couple of people that didn't appreciate that because they weren't sure how they were going to get it tipped back up, elderly or not fully able bodies. So they assured us that isn't.
But if you saw the crew delivering them,
It's not a long-term.
they were pretty worn out by the end of the day. I ran
Not
into
a
them.
long-term situation for them. They just wanted a week or two to kind of get boots on the ground and figure out where all the roads go and make sure that they wanted to make sure they were not missing anyone. So
Well, I think when we were down there for their public meeting, they mentioned that. They had mentioned that they were gonna lay them down, their first 1 or 2 times,
Yeah.
just so they knew they got it all, and maybe that could have been something, you think of it now, but maybe something we could have put out of notice saying, hey, they're gonna, first few pickups, they're gonna lay them down, so they know they got you guys while they're learning it, so.
we gave them the addresses of the couple of people that we knew it had caused an inconvenience for, and they just said, well, make sure we leave that one stand up,
Well,
stand that one back.
I just wondered if it, on windy days, sometimes
They might wind up that way anyway.
yeah, if they might do that just on a windy day so that they're not ending up out in the street, because a lot of them they really blow around after they're emptied.
Well, I like the fact that so far they've only made one pass down my street anyway, rather than going down and turning around, getting one side, turning around, and coming back and getting another side. They have guys going on both
Yeah.
Oh,
sides.
do they really?
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
good.
Two guys on the
If they're
back.
doing that town-wide, then that's gotta help our streets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's probably half the town because one of their trucks, they still have to bring the bins to the truck anyway. And the other of their trucks is one of those newer ones
Oh, okay.
with the arms, but.
Okay. We've got the one with the 3 or 4 guys.
Let's be. But no, I mean, as far as the office dealing with them, they've been great to deal with. So.
The other, under old business, they've got the water restriction resolution attached and, I guess my question is, okay, this is how it works as a review, but, do we have to do an update? I see it's been updated different times along the way, or,
No, if the council wants it to go into effect, all they have to do is tell me and I just sign an update.
okay.
That's the way we put it together.
Well, and that's what I thought we did, except I saw that the last one was updated by the city council, so.
Well, there has been at some point in time, you remember we seem to have quite the confusing method of when you could water
Oh, yeah.
in the north and the south. It was so confusing, I'm not sure anyone in City Hall understood it either. And then we had goofy labeling of the hours, whether it was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So I think I brought that back to the council and said, we have to work this one out so it makes sense, because it doesn't even make sense to me.
So we changed it.
So if everything on there is acceptable and they wanted water restrictions put on it at a certain point in time, all they have to do is say, put them on, or the mayor can actually put them on with orders from the administrator. And if I'm not available, then Mary, because you're Mayor Pro Tem, you can sign the next one and put it into effect. Just give them 2 weeks notice.
You want 2 weeks notice before we turn on well 6 or 2 weeks notice before we do restrictions?
Both.
Okay. So,
It's not fair to our people, and it's not like they'll rush out and just start washing cars like crazy and power washing their houses and all that kind of stuff. It's just, it might make them start to restrict their water usage before we ever go to it, and we might find, well, maybe we can get by without using too much of well 6.
So are we at the point where we're gonna put out the 2-week notice? Is
Isn't
that,
that what you said?
yeah, I think we need to get into we were at a certain level that we were comfortable with, and then it dropped and below the comfort level, and our wells are not empty. We don't want them to go empty, and we don't. So that's why we'd like to get the restrictions in the works. So the last council meeting was a different story, it was a different,
Yeah.
different
We're hoping for
circumstances.
rain all around us, except for one
Yeah.
little one.
So retype the resolution and I'll sign it and then we'll put it on Facebook and on the city website and the official date that the restrictions will go into effect. That's all it takes.
So whenever we publish that, then it'll be 2 weeks later that they'll actually be
Enforcing.
Or
enforced.
when she retypes the resolution, just add a date of where it's gonna pick up at.
So you want 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from tomorrow?
Well, that's up to Steve.
We can just do from tomorrow.
Okay, 2 weeks from tomorrow will be August 3rd.
And there is one thing I'd like to have removed in the first line is this, just the word 5. After cities 5 shallow wells, I just have it say cities shallow wells.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay, well,
Everybody good with that? Does that require a motion? No, Dave said it doesn't. Never mind.
well, good to review those since they're imminent.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any resident comments, so all that's left is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion for adjournment.
I'll second.
It's gotta be an official meeting, come on.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
7:57.
Dave,
Yes.
are you home tomorrow?